G'day everybody and welcome to another episode of Automotive Karnage. My name's DJ and today we'll be working on Bakayundo, our 1979 Toyota Cressida with a 5.4 litre V8 shoved into the engine bay. Now, some absolutely fantastic news about this car. We are going to the Red Centenats. That's right, we got accepted. That's right people, last time we did any filming on Bakayundo, my 1979 Toyota Cressida, I mentioned that we really wanted to go to the Red Centenats. Well, I finally filled out the application and within 24 hours they're like, yep, you're coming. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. I have never, ever actually been to a car show. Now I've been to, little club meets and I've been to one Cars and Coffee, but just living out in the bush out here, you don't get to go to any kind of summer nats, power cruises or stuff like that. So the very first time I'm going to one of these major awesome Australian car shows where there's burnouts and there's drag racing and there's fantastic $100,000 builds, we're taking a rusty old piece of crap that we found in the bush and then we're modifying with like next to no money because some of us have really silly ideas. But this is awesome. I am so excited to be able to go to Red Centenats. Now to do that, we're going to need some of your guys' help. It does take a few funds to travel, 1,600 kilometers from where I live to Alice Springs. Stay there for 3 days. So it's 3 days there, 3 days at the show, 3 days back. So with your help, really appreciate it if you could please jump over to automotivekarnage.com and pick yourself up one of these awesome new Automotive Karnage Bakayundo t-shirts. That's right, it's got the 1979 Cressida on the back there with the local water tower in the back. Absolutely beautiful shirt, AS quality, and made by Right Lane Media, who are absolute champs and make fantastic products. So jump on over, thank you very much. That's enough for the spruiking. Let's get into this build. Now, where we're up to, as you can see, the engine is back in there. Since I got the news of going to Red Centenats, it's been all hands on. So continuality, day, night, changing of clothes is all out the window. I'm just going to start smashing this car out because we have, we're in June, July, August. So we've got 2.5 months to finish building the car, test the car, break the car, fix the car, modify the car, and then take it. Yes, I built this, so something's going to go wrong. So we've got 2.5 months, which sounds like a lot, but anyone who's built a car knows that's not a lot of time. So at the moment, engine's in, final location, it's bolted down, transmission is in its location, but needs to have the trans lines put on. The drive shaft is in, the drive shaft fits. So excited about that. So you guys are going to go back in time now to watching how I put this all in, and then come back to me now and we'll start putting the trans lines in. Let's do this. Alright, so here we go. The torque converter is now in the transmission. This has been one of the biggest headaches for this build. Now obviously you can get high store torque converters off the shelf for this transmission, but that was totally unnecessary because I don't want to spend over $500 on one. Plus we're only running the stock V8. We're not giving any turbos or anything. We're not drag racing. There's really no point in having a high store. So I just wanted a second-hand one that someone had taken out to put a high store in. That was very hard to find. From the very beginning of this build, I knew I needed a torque converter. So the whole reason I got the car cheap was because I did too many neutral drops and ended up smashing the torque converter into 1,000 pieces. You could rattle it around and it sounded like a Macarena. Thank you very much to Byron and his mate. His mate did exactly that. He had a rebuilt trans with the rebuilt torque converter, but he already had a high store. So he took this one out, put the high store in his one, and we're like, well, can we borrow that off you? He's like, yep, sweet as, box of beer. Job done. So we now have our torque converter. So thank you so much to Byron and his mate for hooking us up with that. It's cost us, a box of beer. Absolutely fantastic. Now, what's next is we've got bolts. And when I went around the trip around Australia with the wife and kids, I ended up packing away this whole car and I ended up losing a lot of the pieces. I think I gave them away by mistake. So anyway, we've just come back from Perth, a 2,000 kilometer round trip just to buy torque converter bolts effectively. So got those. We'll now put this trans back onto the motor for the final time, bolt everything up. We'll bolt the torque converter to the flex plate, transmission in, start the motor on, and put it in for the very last time. Let's do this. Alright, I think it's about time for an update now for all that work you've seen plus some more. Now, the big one that I'm really excited about is this front end is back on. We have not had this front end bolted down and in place since we took it off like a year and a half ago, something crazy like that. So really exciting to have the front end back on, right? Next, we'll pull the bonnet off and we'll go handheld and we'll show you what's going on underneath here. Alright, so here we go guys. I thought I'll put the engine cover on and the intake on just to give you an idea as to what it's going to look like once we're all done. Now unfortunately, this part of the intake is a little too tall and we're going to have to make some adjustments or clearancing on the underside of the bonnet to make that fit nicely. Also around here, we'll have to trim that off just so this radiator hose is in a better position. Now the reason that's a bit crooked is because this engine's sitting lower compared to the radiator than when it does in the Fairmont. Now, the next major thing, the grille. The grill is just held on by cable ties. All the little bracketry and hardware that is designed to hold this in was all broken. It was just decayed plastic. So we've gone and just done good old cable ties to hold the grill in place, and it's doing a lovely job of it. Moving on down here, I've done a bit of wiring as well. So I've had the PCM in place for a while, but we've gone and added the other little fuse box here, and that then runs our power down to our starter, our fuel pump, reverse signal, and a few other bits and pieces. So that all still has to be wired up. Fairly straightforward stuff, but again, I've never done wiring, so just taking my time making sure I do it correctly. You can't see it, but down there the trans cooler lines are in position. There you go, down there. We didn't have to trim them up, we just bent them around and they actually fitted pretty nicely. What was interesting is where the lines are designed to go around the engine mounts of the Ford Fairmont also is in the same location as the engine mounts on this car. So it's really like this engine was meant to be in this car. Really cool. I think that's all the major stuff for under the bonnet. Yeah, new master cylinder over there, that's all ready to go. Still waiting for some rubber lines for the front. We do have the rubber line for the rear, and that brings us on to what I'm working on now. And what we're working on underneath here is the rear brake lines and the handbrakes. So first off, I'm just mounting up the factory hard line that came off the original diff, because it's got all the bends in it for the trailing arms, so it fits on pretty nicely. We just have to stretch out this part here to fit the slightly longer Hilux diff, but otherwise it is going in an absolute treat. We do have a brand new rubber hose for that, so a little bit of welding just to tack the mount in place, and that will be done. Now, as for the handbrake though, the factory system is designed to pull from the lower of the rear drum, whereas the new system, which is on here for the Hilux, is designed to pull in that direction on the top. So going to do a little bit of I don't know what to make those two systems work together. I have a bit of an idea, so once I get to it, I'll let you know. And then the next major obstacle we are tackling at the same time is the main power supply. So battery is going to be located in the boot here. This is the new power line that's been made up. It is quite a bit larger than what is necessary, more for earth moving equipment, but we'll see how we go. Hopefully it doesn't create too much resistance. That is running inside the cabin, underneath the seat, underneath the carpet, and I need to drill a hole in the trans tunnel for it then to go out onto the starter motor. And we're able to use one of the factory grommets that I pulled out of the firewall of this car, just to stop it from being cutting out and shorting on the chassis. All right, now I'm bringing around the driver's side here because we've started work on trying to figure out how this stalk works and where all the connectors and everything are for it. Because as we're driving this, well, we plan to drive this car on the streets of Alice Springs, we need headlights, tail lights, indicators, brake lights, all that kind of stuff. And I think it'll be really cool if I can use the factory stalk for all of that, but use a new loom. Reason being is the original loom is very old and weathered and decayed and it's probably going to start a fire. And also we have butchered it when we chopped up the front end here. I just ripped it all out because I didn't think I was going to need it. And now in hindsight, I do need it. But the cabling is that old, it wouldn't be safe to use anyway. So we're going to use the factory stalk. This is the plan anyway. Use the factory stalk and then run it through brand new cables. So we're going to have to go pull some cables and looms out of some of the wrecks at the rubbish dump. Now I think that just about covers everything that we have done so far. As you will see by the time lapse, continualities out the window, day, night, different clothes. This has been over the last couple of days trying to just get this thing done. Really excited to just finish it, really. Alright, so that's enough for the updates. Let's get cracking on these rear brakes and see if we can finish those off. I know we can at least finish off the main brakes. I really wish I could bleed them, but as I say, we're still waiting for those rubber hoses at the front. So do that and then start trying to modify that handbrake cable to fit into that Cressida. Let's get into it. Well, here we go guys, the sun is sitting on yet another day of working on the Cressida. Now you will have just seen me very painstakingly trying to solder the wires together for the thermo fans. Now, it's been a very long time since I've done any soldering. That is probably not the best way to do it, but it's tight, it's secure, it's not going anywhere, and hey, we're not doing this to road legal standards. Now, that's the thermo fans. I just got to hook up a earth to the actual chassis, and then that's that done. Now we come over this way, the starter motor down there is all connected. We've got a signal wire going to it. We have our main supply from our battery going to it. The only things really left to wire now are the, what's this one, reverse lights. We're going to need those because we're going on the roads and Alice Springs, the fuel pump, and then the start and ignition switches, which I'm thinking I might make a panel for them to go in either the old stereo box or in this little gap here. I think it would be really cool. I'd like to save these circles up here where the air conditioning was and save those for gauges. That would be awesome as well. Seats back in. So we still need to run those wires. We haven't made our battery box yet, but that will go into there. Yes, other major thing that's happened is the brakes completely and utterly work. We now have foot brake bled the whole system on all four corners. Our new rubber hoses arrived, so they're looking swanky in there. So there we go, that is one complete system, one system completely done. So from bush wreck to now stopping vehicle. It's not running and driving yet, but it will stop, which is really cool. Front end's on there, nice. I am just really excited. This has been about a week and a half worth of work in this one video, and that's just what it's going to be. From now on, we're just going to be patching bits and pieces together until we get this car done. I want to get it done as soon as possible so we can start testing it and fix out any issues or the issues that it's going to have. This is not going to be a once and done car. I can guarantee you something is going to go wrong with this vehicle. So we want as much time as possible to work through all those issues. Right, that's all for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Please drop by automotivekarnage.com, pick yourself up a t-shirt. I'm not wearing one. I'm wearing my very old Wasabi Cars one, which I will need to get another one. Yes, go jump over to see Daniel from Wasabi Cars to find some absolutely awesome vehicles. I think that's it. Catch you guys on the next episode of Automotive Karnage. See you later.